Have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
I have. One time I was sitting on it and I was watching TV and it moved 3 feet over.
Apparitions, they're either angels or demons.
I don't.
Walk into my house, completely empty, no family around, and next thing you know, I'm passing my little brother's room. There's a little boy about, I would say maybe 5-6 years old, sitting there looking out the window. And I sat there for about 2 seconds looking at him, and then I thought, well, it's my little brother. I didn't even think about it. As soon as I walked past him, I'm like, wait a second, there's nobody there.
For years, Dallas Patti has compiled ghost stories from the Central Valley of California. She has a number of tales to tell. Next, on Stories of the Supernatural.
I grew up in a haunted house where we heard footsteps walking on the floor, and doorknobs would turn and doors would open and then close. Blue lights danced across the living room and the dining room. And we had an electrician check the place, and he says, your wiring is just fine, but he says, you're known to have strange things happen in this house. I would just chalk it up to that. We've heard heavy breathing. So what we were experiencing, I can't tell you for sure what it was, but it was something of the paranormal. Ghost, apparition, energy. I'm not sure what it was, but it was definitely something, and it has me believing when I hear other stories, because I know what I've experienced personally. And I don't expect other people to necessarily believe me. I think you have to experience something before you can first believe in it.
True or false, real or imagination? Not everyone agrees with stories like this. Here's an opposing viewpoint.
Well, first of all, I don't see any evidence that there are such things as ghosts. If by ghosts you mean the remnants of an individual, a human being, or an animal perhaps, who once lived and has somehow left some sort of a shade behind. I've heard the word shade used as well. I don't see any evidence of that. Willing to be shown. I see lots of evidence, but it's not very convincing. And again, it doesn't have to be convincing to me. It just has to be definitive evidence. Evidence is what speaks, and I don't see any evidence for ghosts.
Well, through the years, I've noticed off and on, I will get an odd picture. In other words, something that appears on the picture that was not in my viewfinder when I snapped the picture. So I have started compiling a little album of these pictures that have shown up. And I was looking back over some that were taken years ago when I was just a kid, for instance. And it was taken at our old house, which, as I stated previously, is haunted. It still is today, as a matter of fact. And there's a picture of me out on the front lawn petting the dog, and that dog, incidentally, would not go into the back bedroom for anything. You could not bribe him. He would not go in there. He was terrified of it. But we were outside, and someone snapped a picture of us, and I happened to look up, and there you can see that the roof of the house, and you can see the attic, and it looks like a mist coming out of the attic. And I thought, well, how neat. So I'm thinking that is, perhaps our ghost, our spirit, is this mist that's hanging over the attic. Then I know I took another picture inside the house as we were going to be selling it shortly, and so I was just taking pictures in there. And I took a picture of my great-grandfather's old dresser, and in the mirror there is something very strange. Some lights it's kind of a zigzag. What it reminds me of, actually, if you've ever seen a missile being shot off from Vandenberg Air Force, and then it takes, it makes these, what do I want to say, curlicues in the sky, and it reminds me of that, only these curlicues are in the mirror. Not a face, but more like a curlicue. And then I was out at this old cemetery, Lone Oak Cemetery. It's perhaps one of the oldest cemeteries here in Visalia, I should say Tulare County. It's outside of Visalia. And it started in the 1850s. It's very old. And I was snapping a picture, and when I got the picture back, and it was a cloudy day, I should point out to you, overcast, I was not shooting against the sun, so there's no way that light could have come in and caused this effect. But what it looks like is something, it looks like an apparition. There's a light standing between me and the two graves that I'm looking at, the Crowley graves. And it looks like a person standing. I mean, you can see from the top of the head down to the feet. So I find that one very fascinating. And I shared that with my doctor, and he says, look, that's a ghost, that's a ghost. And I says, why would you say that? You're a doctor, a man of science. Why would you think that's a ghost? And he says, just because science can't explain it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I tend to agree with him. And I've taken other pictures in old buildings or even cemeteries. I took one at the Hadley Funeral Chapel because they were remodeling it. They were changing it into a bank. It's now Suncrest Bank here in Visalia. And I got 2 orbs in that. I was very thrilled to find that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about orbs, okay? One of the phenomena that people are producing as evidence, they believe, of ghosts or other beings of some kind is the orb phenomena. This is essentially an artifact of the digital photographic process. Digital photography is not the only one, because fashion photographers have long been plagued by the fact that when they take pictures in rain or in snow, when snow is falling, that the little flakes of snow are illuminated by flash. And that's the way most of the orb pictures with digital cameras are taken too, usually with a flash, yet with a dark background. And what's happening is the camera focuses on the general scene, and the little bits of dust or of snowflakes or raindrops or insects, and insects are usually the cause of this sort of thing in a graveyard, are illuminated brightly by the flash, but completely out of focus. Therefore, they manifest themselves on the photograph as an orb. It looks like a sphere floating around. So it's an artifact of digital photography. We did it very easily in our library back at the James Randi Educational Foundation by simply scattering some confetti in the air while digital photographs were being snapped. And we got beautiful orbs, but we knew what they were caused by.
And my best one, or at least what I think is my best one, because I really cannot explain it whatsoever, this was out at Smith Mountain Cemetery. And I was taking a picture of a fairly recent grave. And when I got the pictures back, there's this green snake-like creature that is intertwined in the tombstone, and it just kind of comes up out of the tombstone. It's even got an eye. You can see the eye. What caused that, I have no idea. But it's my most fascinating of the pictures I've been compiling.
The problem with examining evidence of that sort is that you have to have some data about how the photograph was taken. Many of these snake-like things are often just camera jiggling that people don't know about. Many people don't know about the photographic process or the videotaping process. And they're confounded when they see something where a shutter is stuck open for a long exposure and the camera moves and you get jiggly marks and whatnot. So again, you'd have to have lots of data about how and where and when and by whom the photographs were taken. Photographs can be very deceptive. They can also provide very good evidence.